this is, and this is, because when I hold it, I own it outright. No counterparty risk. We are an interconnected world. And it's interesting because, you have the communists over here, and I'm not sure what we are over here yet, but but this is true. We are all interconnected, and we're all learning from the other parties. So if you've got an experiment going on over here in China or in Turkey or in Mexico or anywhere else in the world, I guarantee you all the central banks are paying attention to see how that plays out. But they're still going to have to placate Wall Street because Wall Street still has the largest market. Now, if China can grow that market and do it in a digital way, well, then they could take over, really, the power and the control from the U.S. So they're saying that the move that they've been doing with really going after the tech titans and, the whole move towards shared prosperity, although there's still just a few at the top that control all the stuff for those at the bottom. But it is to strengthen rules, and this is really the piece, reduce social anxiety, because the last thing they want is a revolution. And there are a lot of things that are happening in China and around the world, frankly, that might be telling us that there is a revolution, a global revolution, that may be taking hold. I don't know, but we'll see. Global investors have been unnerved by the regulatory onslaught from Beijing targeting its biggest technology companies and other industries, as well as a push by President Xi Jinping to create common prosperity. Billions of dollars in potential profits are at stake for Wall Street. Isn't that really what matters? All those profits? And they've been expanding. Wall Street and U.S. companies, corporations have been expanding in China as the nation opens its financial markets to investment banks, wealth, and money managers until they close it again, which is it's possible. We do know that if you are a company doing business in China, you're going to have a cell from the Chinese Communist Party as part of your organization. And we know that China has been definitely accumulating gold. And what we don't really know is exactly how much gold they actually have, showing cumulative gold held in China. And they calculate that out to be almost 29,000 tons, far more than the 8,200 tons that the U.S. supposedly has. But the reality is it could be much, 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 much higher than this. No gold leaves the country. So if you go and visit China and you're wearing any kind of gold or a gold necklace, you better declare it on the way in or you're not taking it out. And it also represents people taking physical delivery from the Singapore Gold Exchange. What is not on here, and I couldn't find it, I couldn't find it, but in 2006, China allowed their citizens to own gold again, and they made it super easy to buy it through the bank and have the bank hold the physical gold, which means that if the Chinese government felt that they needed it, they could easily go in and confiscate it at will. So this number, in my opinion, is likely to be a lot higher than that. Why does this matter? Whoever controls the physical gold, whoever holds that, can maintain control because they've got purchasing power. And they can go in and they can buy up all sorts of assets when nobody else can. Even hold 29,000 tons. That means that they hold more gold than anybody else by a huge, wide margin. Because I definitely do believe that China's holding the physical metal itself. I can't say one way or the other for the U.S. because we can't really audit it. And they have done so much with leasing and convoluting this whole market. Who knows? So therefore, that does really put China in the driver's seat when this whole world goes into hyperinflation if they're holding that much gold. That would make it really, really interesting when you stop and you think about it. If China is indeed holding all of this gold and nobody else can even come close, because the truth of the matter is, and we've already seen this starting to happen, when governments need to raise money and they're limited on their taxes and other things, then they start to sell off assets. China's been a big buyer of global assets, using their fiat money or enabling debt. But we've got the battle royale of money. Right now, what the deal is the cryptocurrencies versus the CBDCs. I know the Bank for International Settlements came out with a paper today. I haven't read it yet, but I will. They came out with a paper today on, why it's a bit of a challenge, central bank digital currencies. Most of it, just as a cursory glance, because this has been in their documentation before, is they're concerned that during the next crisis that the population would bypass the banks and go right to the central bank feeling more secure. So one of their big concerns are bank runs, because they will not, if they have a central bank digital currency, how are they going to prevent that bank run? We have to pay attention to this battle in China, because I do think that it's showing us a way forward, or we're going to see the results of it. And I think other central banks and other governments are going to follow suit. We are seeing the threat of legislation on a global basis. So this is really starting to heat up. And we're also, I don't think this is going to pass, but Janet Yellen would like the banks to report $600 or more if you have in your account for all of your transactions. Guess what? Once we're in a CBDC, they won't have to ask for permission for that, because they'll just have all of that information and all of that access. So for me, if I want to prevent that, which I personally do, I mean, you've got to make your own choice, but I personally do, this is out of the system. And as the biz says, it is, number one, the only financial asset that runs zero counterparty risk or even political risk. But what did they say? Gold held at home. In China, most of the gold is held in the banks, so it's pretty easy to confiscate. But gold held at home runs no political risk. I like that, because I think right now we are running all political risk.